In a world overflowing with noise, manipulation, and shallow connection, there is a quiet truth that few dare to speak. What women deeply desire isn't always voiced. It's hidden between glances, unspoken expectations, and the silence between words. The modern man, if he is to thrive, must see beyond the surface. He must develop emotional clarity, presence, and inner stillness. He must become a Stoic, not cold but composed, not detached but discerning. Because often what women want you to do, they'll never tell you. Not because they're trying to deceive you, but because they want you to know without being told her. That's the mark of a high-value man. A woman may never say the words directly, but she deeply longs for a man who knows how to lead without asking for permission. This doesn't mean dominance or control. It means calm, assertive confidence rooted in self-awareness and purpose. Most women are biologically and psychologically wired to feel safe with someone who can take initiative. In today's world, where confusion about gender roles and emotional responsibility is rampant, a man who leads with clarity becomes a rare gem. He doesn't wait for her to make every plan, to define the direction of the relationship, or to solve every emotional tension. Instead, he steps forward with intention, quietly, firmly, and respectfully. This form of leadership isn't loud or attention-seeking. It is silent and powerful, like a river that carves stone over time. It is about being the emotional anchor during storms, the one who brings direction when uncertainty creeps in. A man grounded in Stoic values understands that leadership starts with self-control. He doesn't need approval to make choices. He consults reason, not emotion. And that kind of energy is magnetic. Women won't admit it because modern culture tells them they must always be in control. But the truth is, a woman deeply respects a man who leads, not to dominate her, but to protect her peace. When a man chooses the restaurant, plans the trip, makes decisions with thoughtfulness, and moves with purpose, he communicates, "You are safe with me. I know where I'm going." This kind of leadership doesn't need to be spoken. It is felt. It builds trust, and it silently fulfills a longing that most women carry, to be able to relax into their feminine energy because they know they are in the presence of a man who doesn't hesitate to lead when it matters most. One of the things women secretly desire, but often never express, is to be genuinely observed, not just seen. Most men look, but few truly notice. There's a quiet power in observation. A high-value man pays attention to the details most ignore. He notices her favorite drink, the way her eyes light up when she talks about something she loves, or the subtle change in her tone when she's upset but trying to hide it. This level of attentiveness doesn't come from trying to impress, it comes from presence. In a world full of distractions, being present is a superpower. When a man chooses to be fully present with a woman, he communicates something deeper than words, that she matters. He's not scanning his phone while she talks, not just nodding along waiting for his turn to speak. He's listening, observing, responding, not reacting. And here's the catch. She may never say, "Thank you for paying attention to the small things." She may never even realize she craves that level of presence, but she'll feel it. It builds a kind of trust and intimacy that words can't replicate. It tells her that she's with someone who isn't just physically there but emotionally tuned in. From a Stoic standpoint, this act of observation is rooted in discipline. It means training your mind to slow down, to be curious without judgment, to listen deeply without needing to fix. It is the opposite of chasing validation or performing. It is quiet strength, measured and intentional. By simply noticing her and responding accordingly, a man distinguishes himself from the noise. Because women don't want grand gestures as much as they want to feel seen in the moments that matter. And when she feels truly seen, she won't forget it. A woman may never voice it, but one of her deepest unspoken desires is to feel emotionally safe around a man who does not crumble under pressure. She wants to be able to express her storms, her fears, her doubts, her insecurities, without the man matching her chaos with his own. She doesn't need a savior. She needs a steady presence. Someone who remains grounded when she is unraveling. This isn't about being emotionally distant. It's about being emotionally resilient. Many men mistake emotional strength for emotional detachment. But true Stoic masculinity is not cold, it's calm. When a woman tests your patience, questions your intentions, or shows emotional intensity, it's not always to provoke. Often it's a subconscious test. Can you hold your ground without losing your center? Can you remain composed while still being empathetic? She may never say it out loud, but when she sees you respond to emotional turbulence with clarity instead of confusion, stillness instead of panic, she feels safer around you. Not because you fixed her problem, but because you didn't make it worse. You didn't add your emotional volatility to the mix. That's what makes you rare. In Stoicism, we are taught that our control lies not in changing the external, but in mastering our internal response. This principle is profoundly attractive. A woman drawn to a man who can remain unshaken is not looking for perfection. She's looking for peace. And in a world filled with noise, peace is the most seductive quality of all. She may never admit that what pulled her closer wasn't what you said, but what you didn't. Your silence, your poise, your refusal to be emotionally manipulated. That's what stayed in her mind long after the moment passed. Because true strength, the kind she craves, is always silent and centered. A woman may never outright ask for it, but she deeply wants to feel chosen, not just desired, but consciously selected. There is a difference between wanting someone and choosing them. Desire can be impulsive, fleeting, and easily scattered. But choice is deliberate, rooted in awareness and self-control. When a man makes it clear that he has options but still chooses her, without neediness or desperation, it strikes something powerful within her. The catch is, she doesn't want to hear it in words alone. She wants to feel it in actions, in presence, in priority. A Stoic man doesn't chase endlessly. He offers space, but also clarity. He's not pulled in every direction by passing lust. He knows what and who aligns with his values, and when he finds it, he honors it. This doesn't mean overgiving or overextending. It means showing up intentionally, consistently, and without performance. There is a unique kind of attraction that comes from a man who has access to many but chooses one. It speaks to his discipline, his standards, and his ability to govern his own desires. She may not verbalize how much it means, but she feels secure knowing she is with someone who doesn't need her to feel complete, but chooses her anyway. This is Stoic love in its purest form, not driven by impulse, but by reasoned intention. It doesn't burn out quickly because it isn't fueled by fantasy. It's steady, patient, and built to last. The high-value man knows that choosing a woman is not about possession. It's about resonance. He feels aligned with her energy, her presence, and her growth. And though she may never say it, this kind of loyalty, grounded, not forced, is what sets him apart from every man who only knows how to chase what he hasn't yet earned. Emotional consistency is one of the most underrated qualities a man can embody, yet it's something women crave deeply, even if they never say it aloud. In a world where emotional volatility is normalized, where mood swings, reactive behavior, and unpredictable energy dominate interactions, a man who maintains calm amidst chaos becomes a pillar. A Stoic man, grounded and emotionally disciplined, doesn't just bring peace, he is peace. When a woman connects with someone who doesn't get easily rattled, who doesn't react out of ego or insecurity, it creates an unspoken sense of trust.
She feels safe. Not in a protective, possessive way, but in a soulful, stabilizing one. His stillness becomes a sanctuary. His emotional control doesn't come from repression, but from mastery.
He feels deeply, but chooses his responses with clarity. He doesn't raise his voice to be heard. He doesn't sulk to make a point. He simply navigates emotions with maturity, refusing to let the temporary storms of life define his behavior. Women may never say it, but they observe how a man handles pressure, how he responds to disagreement, how he shows up when plans change or when emotions run high. And the man who remains anchored without becoming detached is rare. He listens without judgment, speaks without cruelty, and reacts with intention. This isn't weakness, it's power under control. Such emotional consistency builds attraction over time. It tells her that this man doesn't just manage himself. He can also hold space for her emotions without being consumed by them. That is profoundly magnetic. Not because he's trying to impress, but because he lives from a place of inner alignment. He doesn't just talk about being a rock, he embodies it. And in a world full of noise, she will quietly remember the man who never wavered. Silent presence holds a power most men overlook. In the modern world where noise dominates, where everyone feels the need to fill the silence with words, a man who can simply be, without chasing, without explaining, without performing, stands out more than he knows. Women don't always express it, but they deeply respect and are drawn to a man who can be present in silence, calm and grounded, without needing to entertain or seek validation. This isn't about ignoring her or being cold. It's about being rooted enough in yourself that your energy speaks louder than your voice. A man who can sit next to a woman, fully at peace in his own stillness, sends a message that few words could capture. He's not trying to impress. He's not waiting for permission to feel valuable. He already knows who he is, and that makes him magnetic. Women notice when a man doesn't flinch in silence, when he listens without rushing to reply, when he looks at her not with need, but with understanding. His stillness becomes an emotional mirror, reflecting strength, patience, and self-assuredness. She starts to feel seen not because he's talking nonstop, but because he's there, fully. And that presence, that rare ability to stay calm, composed and quietly confident, lingers in her mind long after the conversation ends. Most men chase with words. The Stoic man attracts with silence. His quietness isn't emptiness, it's depth. And in that depth, a woman senses something rare: stability. The kind of energy that doesn't need to control or prove, because it's already enough. She may never admit how deeply that affects her, but she will remember. And in a world full of men trying too hard, it's the one who can sit silently and still make her feel everything, who stays on her mind the longest. There is something profoundly attractive about a man who holds firm boundaries, not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence. Women may not voice it, but they deeply value a man who knows his limits and stands by them without apology. It signals self-respect, discipline, and emotional maturity, qualities that are rare and powerful in a world driven by approval-seeking and compromise at the cost of self-worth. When a man calmly enforces his boundaries, he sends a message: I know who I am, and I will not bend just to be liked. He doesn't raise his voice or explain excessively. He simply holds the line with grace. Whether it's about how he wants to be treated, what behavior he accepts, or the time and energy he gives, he is clear, firm, and composed. And that composure is deeply compelling. Women may test boundaries not out of malice, but to understand a man's emotional framework. They want to know if the man before them is someone who can lead, protect, and stand his ground. A man without boundaries is easily swayed, easily lost in the whims of others. But a Stoic man, rooted in his principles, becomes the calm center in the storm. He's not rigid or controlling. He's simply aligned with his values. This silent strength fosters deep respect. It creates a dynamic where she knows where she stands and senses the strength in the space he creates. That clarity becomes a form of emotional safety, something women desire, even if they never articulate it. She may never tell him directly, but when he sets a boundary and sticks to it, her admiration often deepens. Not because he's controlling her, but because he's mastered himself, and that more than anything else is what leaves a lasting impression. There is a rare and powerful energy in a man who remains grounded in silence. It's not the silence of indifference, but the silence of presence, of knowing when to speak, and when to let the moment breathe. Women may never say it, but they feel it. They are drawn to a man who doesn't rush to fill every gap with words, who doesn't seek validation through constant chatter, and who doesn't fear a pause in conversation. His silence communicates confidence, mystery, and depth. In a world where noise is constant and attention is fleeting, The man who can sit in silence becomes magnetic. His restraint suggests emotional control and an inner life rich enough that he doesn't need to impress. He listens more than he speaks, and when he finally speaks, his words carry weight. There's no desperation in his voice, only calm clarity. And that subtle power speaks volumes. Stoicism teaches us to observe more and react less. The silent man practices this effortlessly. He pays attention, not only to her words, but to her body language, her tone, and the spaces in between. He's not calculating, he's simply aware. His presence invites trust and curiosity, because silence often reveals more than words ever could. This kind of silence also protects him. He's not quick to reveal everything about himself. He lets others unfold first. This doesn't make him distant, it makes him deliberate. Women may not say they long for a man like this, but when they encounter him, they remember him. His silence lingers. His energy stays. He becomes the one she can't quite read, and the one she can't quite forget. Because in the absence of noise, she begins to lean in, wondering what else lies beneath the stillness. And that's where true attraction begins. A Stoic man doesn't play games. He doesn't guess. He observes. He acts from principle. And he listens, not just to what's said, but to what's left unsaid. In that silence, he finds clarity. And in that clarity, he becomes the man no woman wants to lose.